What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon McCollum, also known as BMcC, and this is Nice Minds. I'm with a very special guest, my friend Micah Johnson. How are you today, dude?
Hey, what's going on, Brandon? Man, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, I am honored to have you because you were actually my instructor at IPR. I when I was going to school, I remember meeting you. I was in the studio one day by myself working on some stuff, and you were sitting on the couch, and I had no idea who you were. And I walked out of the studio, and you're just like, "Hey, man, what you working on?" And we just struck up a conversation. And I don't think I even knew that you were an instructor until like I walked into your class, maybe like some months later, or I can't remember how long after. But at IPR, you were one of my favorite instructors. I mean, I had you for I think it was sound design for visual media. I mean, I know that that was my degree, but I can't remember exactly what class it was. Do you remember what class you were teaching?
I think it was just, the post sound design class. I forgot the technical name for it, but yeah, man, I remember meeting you on the couch that day. I mean, I've obviously seen you around the campus quite a bit. So you were one of those familiar faces. I just knew like I had to get to know this guy.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. And as I was taking your class, I mean, not only were you like sound design for visual media teacher, but you're also very well versed in the music industry. I mean, some of the stories that you would tell us, yeah, like you worked with some of my idols. I mean, so I know you got your start because you went to Full Sail in Orlando, and then you got a job at the Hit Factory right after, right?
Yeah, I actually did not even make it to my graduation. I had the job lined up before my graduation. I graduated, I just didn't get to walk. So a lot of my close friends sent me like the video and stuff. But yeah, man, I was kind of eager and anxious to kind of pay off my student loans and work at one of the biggest recording studios in the world. So I was really blessed to have that opportunity for sure.
That's amazing. So, I mean, how did you even end up getting that gig then? Just did you intern first for a while?
Yeah, so my story about behind that is I when I went to Full Sail, my history, I kind of started college late. I was 26 years old, kind of hanging around the wrong people, and really ready to make some changes in my life, have a career. Um, and so I was really inspired by just my passion for music and wanting to be around that in a day to day life and make a career out of it. So I made a promise to myself I was going to take it really serious. So when I went to Full Sail, I studied real hard. I graduated in the top 10% of my class. I think I only missed like one day of class. Full Sail is a little bit different than IPR. You go to school 24 hours a day with little like 2 hour breaks here and there. So you might have a class at midnight that runs to 8 in the morning, grab some breakfast and go back for another class kind of thing. They cram 2 years into one year. But yeah, man, just hung around the right people. I made sure also that I made a promise to myself to only be around people who are going to be a good influence and lift me up and try to really have love and support for me. So I made sure I made that happen. And so with it coming around the corner of graduating, I knew I had to somehow get familiar with some studios. And being in Orlando, I just thought, well, the closest big metropolis might be Miami. So about 6 months prior to me graduating, there was like a 3 day weekend. It was like Memorial Day or something like that, and I really had a piece of crap car, so I ended up renting a car. Um, and I called a bunch of studios beforehand and lined up a bunch of studio tours. And so I think I had maybe like 8 tours set up for the 3 day weekend. So I drove down there. I kind of just had the Hit Factory on the list. There's like a mastering studio. There's a bunch of other ones I can't even remember right now. But obviously, seeing the Hit Factory, you kind of fall in love with it. And so, yeah, I just really had my eyes set on that. And then towards graduation, I lo and behold, I heard from the placement department that they had an opening. And so what I did, what I think pulled me above the rest was back then, it was all about your resume looking really nice. It wasn't over email like you do today. But so I had like a really nice paper, I had a folder, everything was color coordinated. and I FedExed signature delivered it. This is my clutch key. And the manager there at the Hip Factory was really impressed with that. So, because he said, you know what, if you're going to start here, you'll probably run into FedEx quite a bit. So, at least you know how to get to FedEx and whatnot. So, I think that was actually what got my leg in the door, man, was not only taking a tour. I kind of name dropped a little bit, like, hey, I remember Barbie gave me the tour. She was like the secretary there, whatnot. And so, name dropping her and just kind of making it felt like, oh, he's already been to the studio, he knows it here. Look at him, he's got a good presentation, and the whole FedEx signature thing I think kind of pulled me in above the rest.
That's amazing. So, going even further back, how did you really, like, get your start in music? Like, what made you wanna go to Full Sail even?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Just a love for music, honestly. I mean, I was really naive when it came to production. I think my first DAW, man, was like this MTV game on the PlayStation.
Oh, wow.
And so I learned how to like build loops and things like that. But man, I was a club kid. I was out at the clubs every night for like 3 years, just loving electronic music, and just knew that I had to be involved with music somehow, man. Just my whole life growing up, listening to records, seeing where it was recorded and things like that. But I was pretty naive. I didn't really understand. I did know that when I went to Full Sail, I didn't go there to be like, a producer. I mean, most of my classmates were all like wanting to be producers. I just wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to record. I knew I could I loved computers and I loved music, so I was hoping that that would kind of like get me some opportunity in that direction.
So I know once you got to Hit Factory, and you started, like, actually working there, I mean, you said you were, like, working side by side with Scott Storch for a while, right? Like, as his engineer?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started at the Hit Factory, they've got it's a it's a level of like you've got assistants, but then the assistants each have general assistants, and that's what you come in at, and it's basically a glorified runner. So you come in and you have to run a lot. You have to go get people's lunches. You have to take orders. You have to drop off masters at people's hotels room or FedEx or, just running around trying to get Missy Elliott a heater in the middle of summer in Miami. I mean, that wasn't fun, but working on Christmas Day and things like that. But yeah, I just start at the ground, ground zero, and kind of work my way up. Scott Storch was definitely one of the guys there who kind of took me under his wing, and yeah, just he just really wanted me to be kind of around, and I do him, lots of personal favors, and he just was just man, just kind of crazy, kind of seeing that level of talent. So yeah, man, he was really cool to me. I didn't get to really engineer a ton for him, but I really got to see him work and see his work ethic and see how things were connected and what he was using and things like that, and see his whole process. That was really neat. I worked with him for a solid like 6, 8 months straight. Around him, I should say. He was around the studio.
That's amazing. And with your Beat Club hoodie, I'm guessing you got to meet Timbaland as well.
Yeah, man. Timberland was there 24/7. Him and Missy. He was mainly in Studio E, banging out beats, and Missy was in a different studio. And yeah, they kind of like it's kind of crazy how often every day they would be there. You think with all that money spent in the studio, might as well build your own. But that's the I think the class of the studio, man. It's world class. I don't think you can necessarily build that at home. And the amount of hits that come out of there, I mean, you're just there's like 6 or 7 rooms there, and each room is filled, each day with somebody, really talented. So it's a special place for sure. But yeah, man, working around Timberland was amazing, and just seeing like his talent level. And I remember one night I think he banged out like I think it was like 20 something beats one night. So he just stockpiling beats and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Once I heard that, I was just, like, floored because Timbaland is, like, my GOAT producer. I mean, like, I've been obsessed with his stuff, I mean, since I heard Pony. I mean, like, I was, like, 11 when Pony came out, and I just remember hearing that beat and just being like, "What is this?" And then even, like, I remember, like, going to, like, Skateland, like, our local, roller rink, and hearing, like, Aaliyah, "One in a Million," and, like, then finding out that, like, once he came out with the Timbaland and Magoo stuff, and once Missy dropped, and, all that stuff, then I was like, "Oh, he did all this stuff too," and I was just, like, at 13 or 14, just started to become obsessed with Timbaland, and he was, like, one of the earlier guys that I wanted to be like, and it got me into production because I remember I would get, all of, like, Missy or, Timbo or all those people, all their albums, and I would open up and read the liner notes and see, see who produced it, who engineered it, and all that stuff, and so that was what got my interest in production, so as soon as I heard you did that, I was like, "Oh, damn, that's on a whole other level, man."
Yeah, Timberland, obviously one of my favorite producers as well, and just so talented. Just to be around that creative energy each and every night, man, it's a special thing to kind of witness. And yeah, man, I was kind of there around their I think they're like their prime, with the records that they were producing. I think they produced 3 records there, albums, so uh 2002, 2003, 2004. They were kind of there at the studio every single day. I was only there a year, but um yeah, it was really cool to witness.
That's amazing. So then after that, you ended up working at, Capitol Records, right? And that's where you worked right before IPR?
Yeah, so I wasn't really having a good time in Miami. The studio there, obviously working around that amount of talent and everything, was amazing, but really cutthroat environment, and wasn't really moving up as quite fast as I wanted to. I got robbed by gunpoint by somebody, kind of butting heads with some couple cats at the studio. And so I had a buddy of mine out in California who I went to Full Sail with, Mike, and he offered me. He said, "Hey man, why don't you come out here to LA and you can crash on my couch until you find a job, and then we can work things out from there." But so that's what I did, man. I came up to my boss at the Hit Factory and I was like, "Hey man, I kind of need to move up the ranks here, or else I got to kind of move on." And he totally understood, and it was kind of a hard decision, man. But yeah, it was kind of just sold everything in a garage sale, had $200 in my pocket, had no idea what I was getting myself into, didn't have a job lined up or anything, but young, and not a whole lot of responsibility other than paying off a student loan, and just really hungry for a career, and thinking and knowing, having the Hit Factory on my resume. I felt like I could kind of puff my chest up a little bit with that. But yeah, man, I moved across country, and I think it was like within 2 weeks, I put my resume out to Capitol, and the guy who called me said that the reason why he called me out of all the resumes is that I put on there that I made a mean margarita, because I used to bartend before I went to Full Sail, but so he liked that, and brought me in, and yeah, man, I worked at Capitol for just a little over 6 months, and that was an amazing experience working in that building. I actually worked in the mastering department as well as the studios, but yeah, man, it was really cool to work in that building every day, and around those people. And Paula, the manager there, was a sweetheart, and yeah, that was a good time.
I've seen little, documentaries. I mean, they have, like, crazy, like, reverb chambers, like, underground at Capitol, don't they? Isn't that a thing there?
They do, yeah, yeah, and it's pretty special that Universal Audio was invited to build a plugin based on those, and it sounds great.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was kind of funny because I went from the Hit Factory where everything is like polished and cleaned, and I mean, each and every night, the cleaning crew comes in there and makes the place look spotless every day. Going to Capitol where it's just like old and dirty, and it was just like it was a really like a head turn. But the history there, man, with that the Capitol and the microphones there, it's like the microphone locker. They tell me to go get a microphone. I go in there, and like there's Frank Sinatra's microphone, and it's pretty cool.
That's insane, that's so dope. Um, so then I know that you ended up moving up to the Midwest. I mean, you live in Wisconsin now, because that's where your wife's family's from, right?
Yeah, so really quick, I'll go back. I started with music, and then after working at Capitol, working the late shift, I think I made like $12 an hour, and doing a lot of session setup. My roommate Mike, who I told you kind of inspired me to move out there, he'd been working at a post place in Santa Monica, making really good money, working 9 to 5, having the weekends off, a couple blocks on the beach, and that really appealed to me, man. So I made a move from music over to post. Got a gig 2 blocks from the ocean. Got off every day at 2:30, riding my skateboard and surfing down at Venice every day. That was really cool, man. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. Moved on to a feature film stage where I mixed America's Funniest Home Videos for a summer while a guy was on vacation. That was pretty cool. Went on to a sound stage where they mixed the original Star Wars, the Warner Brothers lot, which was really cool. And then I landed a place where I met my wife called Eargasm / Atlantis Group. That was in Santa Monica as well. And they had a music room that was actually featured on the cover of Mix magazine the month I went in for my interview. And they also had a post room. So it was the perfect place. They had music and they had post. And we were just doing everything there I worked there for almost 10 years. And we worked on music projects, worked on Emmy projects, Grammy projects there, hundreds of video game. It was just a real special place. But then, yeah, man, my wife and I made the decision to move out here to the Midwest after having family. We had our kids out in LA, and felt like it was a good opportunity for us to sell our home and move out here and raise our kids near her family.
And that's when you started working at IPR, and then, I know after that you started working at, Sister Boss. So, first of all, like, how do you like the Midwest so far? I mean, what's your I mean, because 'cause you're a Florida boy, right, originally, right?
Yeah, originally Florida boy, beach boy, surfer boy, skate boy, and sunshine all day long. Moving out to California, it's real familiar because it's
Yep,
kind of similar, right? Except the ocean's kind of cold, So
yep.
I miss my Florida beaches for sure. But yeah, man, I actually really like the Midwest. One of the things that really turned me on about living out here is just being able to get out on the lakes. I grew up in a place called Lakeland in Florida, and I spent a lot of my time growing up out on the water on the lake and fishing and having a good time with that. So that was a big plus. The summers are beautiful out here. People treat it with a lot of respect. Cost of living is great. And then Sister Boss, yeah, man, a great company to work for. So they kind of really held me up here. So I like it, man. I don't mind the cold. It's the longevity that I mind. It's the 4 month, 5 month winters that are pretty rough. But other than that, man, it's a great place.
I can relate because I mean, I think we might have talked about this, but I'm a Cali boy originally. When I was born in Santa Barbara, and then my family moved here when I was 9. So, I mean, even though it's been 27 years now, I still the winters just still get me every time, man. It's hard to get used to.
But like I said, man, it's not necessarily cold. I mean, I don't mind putting a jacket on. I don't mind all that, and even the snowy roads and stuff like that, man. I kind of really adjusted and got used to that stuff, and um, but yeah, man, just the longevity. I wish we got snow in December, and I wish we got spring in March. That would be perfect.
Yep. I agree, man. So Galaxy 80, I mean, I see all of your dope vintage synths behind you. So I know that you're a synth head, and I love it because I'm all about the 80s and um 80s production and all that stuff. So I mean, did you start Galaxy 80 just because of like your love for like 80s music?
So I'd always kind of fiddled around with production, hip hop stuff, nothing too serious, just like, coming up with a little beat here and there. I did a couple projects with some vocalists just for fun. But it wasn't really until Stranger Things came out that I really just fell in love with that sound, and that really propelled and inspired the whole thing, and I bought one synth, and then it became kind of a rabbit hole. I need another one, I need another one, I need another one, and I just needed a creative outlet, I think, in my life. So that's what Galaxy 80 does for me. It's an outlet for me, and it's a brand that I get to kind of cater to when I have time for it.
I love it. I love all the music that I've heard so far. I mean, stuff is really amazing. So out of all the synths behind you, which one is your favorite?
Oh man, if I could just have one. Oh, that's a tough one. I want to say the Oberheim. I got an OB6 here, so that's a good one. And then I also have a Prophet. Those two are I think my favorites. Yeah.
That's dope. I would love to get my hands on some of those because I've kind of been studying like 80s synths and getting into it. I mean, I have like anything that's like 80s analog 80s synth like one shots or whatever, I buy it. So I have just like gigs of just one shots from all like a lot of those synthesizers. So I'm super into it. I've been experimenting a lot myself with like synthwave pop type stuff.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'd recommend if you want to kind of dabble into some of that vintage stuff. Arturia has a nice bundle out there
Oh
that,
yeah,
yeah, they have a lot of the vintage stuff that's pretty spot on.
that's awesome. So you just recently put out a song called Flight with System 96.
Yeah.
Do you get, like, inspired from, like, real life things, or do you just, like, fool around? I mean, like, talk about the vibe. Like, what inspires you to wanna create?
Yeah, man. Actually, just other people's work. When I hear something, that's really inspiring, I'll just go through these phases where, I'm really glued and stuck on an artist's work. So I'll listen to them or somebody very similar to them every day for months at a time until I'm kind of sick of it. But I just get inspired that way. So, yeah, the whole System 96 uh, little song we did here recently was that he actually is from Atlanta. His name's Blake, and there's a synthwave community out here called Nitrowave TC, and they're throwing shows, live shows here that I've done a couple. But they invited me to DJ, and I got to meet Blake, System 96, and I got to see him perform. Man, I'd listened to a lot of his records, and I liked him a lot. He's a younger guy. He's in his 20s, and that's it's kind of funny that he was actually born in 96. That's why he's System 96. So I'm the old fart, but a lot of his production is very fresh. It's not super retro, but he's attached to that retro community. But he's making some dope stuff. Anyways, I got to see his live performance, man. I was like really blown away. It's one of those nights where the next day you're still kind of buzzing, like, wow, man, that was some really good music I got to hear last night, kind of thing. So I think the next couple days I got in the studio and kind of started something and reached out to him and said, hey, do you want to collaborate on something? Here's what I've started. And he took it and just took it to the next level. Yeah, man, he's super talented. I really like his work.
I wanted to talk to you too because it seems like from what I was talking to you about, a lot of, like, the gigs that you got have were based on the fact that you're just a cool dude. I mean, like you said, some of the stuff you put on your resume or just, like, saying little things. I mean, so how much would you say that just being a good, cool person has helped out your career?
Yeah, man, that's a good point. I appreciate that. I'd say it has to do with my attitude, man. Um, so, being a father, you realize you can't really teach somebody to have a good attitude. Either you have one or you don't. And I think that's something I've always kind of had. And I'm not, I've never been the smartest kid, I've never really been the straight A kid, but I've always had a good attitude. And I think that's really got me pretty far in my career, which I'm celebrating 20 years next year is my 20-year anniversary. I'm pretty excited about that.
That is crazy. That is so dope. So what kind of advice would you give to kids that are trying to get their start in engineering and production?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's so many tools out there, and I love seeing what the younger guys are doing. I mean, they just pick up on this stuff so much quicker. I mean, even my generation, we grew up on computers and whatnot, but these kids that are growing up now, these young men that are growing up now, and young women, they're exposed to so many more tools out there readily at their will. So they just pick up on this stuff pretty quickly. I always used to tell my students, though, I mean, my path to success was what we just kind of went over, man, is just really a drive, a good attitude, and just being willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, if you got to get an internship somewhere, if you got to learn from somebody, but just don't get yourself in a situation where you're being abused. You're being kind of taken, for granted or advantage of. Don't get yourself in a situation like that. It should be a trade-off. Like you're getting some sort of knowledge, some sort of experience, something you put on your resume if you have to do an internship. But and also, man, if you've got if this is something you really want to do, and you're not living in a community that has a lot of opportunity, then I would recommend moving and taking your shot at a big, metropolis like Los Angeles, New York, or whatnot. There's more opportunity out there. There's more studios out there. But with COVID now, these past couple of years, man, I mean, it's starting to evolve where even more people now are actually, getting professional work done at home. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next 5 years brings in this world, in this community.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, and that's something that I've thought about too. Because ever since COVID hit, I mean, like I was doing the record label thing for between like 2015 and then just last year. I kind of stopped the record label thing, but my freelance business actually boomed. I mean, I was getting tons of like podcast editing work and commercial work, and I really just started actually like full on freelancing like the last couple of years since COVID. I mean, so it's opened up a whole new lane for me personally. So I can only imagine, what it's going to be like in the future if things kind of continue the way that they are. And yeah, like you said, it's going to be really interesting to see where things end up in the next 5 years because I feel like a lot of different opportunities are going to be created that weren't around.
And you just actually kind of brought up a good point, man. As far as like a lot of people freelancing, some advice I would give to maybe some younger guys starting out is make sure you get yourself an LLC. Anything that you buy for your studio, whether it's just software or speakers or whatever it is, this is going to be a career that you're going to be, you're going to continue to spend money and buy your tools that you need. And that stuff is really great to write off on your taxes, man. You can really save a lot, and it gives you an opportunity to kind of spend money on stuff maybe you wouldn't normally spend it on and be able to write that stuff off. So that's a good point, man. That's another maybe key advice for somebody is make sure you get yourself an LLC and start writing stuff off that you buy.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I haven't even said that on this podcast yet. And that I mean, that's something that I feel like people don't really talk about as much as they should, because I mean, yeah, like you said, write-offs kind of save your ass sometimes. I mean, they really help out, especially when you're first starting, with tax stuff for sure.
And what I've noticed is it's about 20 to 30%. So, if you do look at something that you're wanting to buy, just keep in mind like, hey, you're going to get 20-30% at the end of the year back on that. So
Yep.
it can help out a lot. But yeah, I mean, it always helps me out, man. I mean, I'm constantly buying toys for my studio, and, it's like I actually not only do I work at Sister Boss, but I also do a lot of freelance work as well. So those freelance jobs that I do for audio artists, I'm able to kind of like balance it off with the income versus what I spend on my gear and stuff like that. So it really works out, and it's very helpful for sure.
So, like, how has the pandemic been for you? I mean, what are pros, what are cons? Has it changed anything in your life?
Yeah, so I was kind of ready to go. I mean, when this all went down, obviously it kind of took everybody by surprise. Um, it's funny because one of the guys I was working with, Dan Kramer, he had just went to like the pediatrician or something, the doctor. This was like in gosh, man, this November or something before it all went down. He's like, man, there's something going on over in China. We're gonna have to really be careful of. And I was just like, that doesn't sound right. I've never heard or witnessed anything like that before. And then it all just happened and so quickly. And so my boss kind of came up with a game plan, like, hey, is anybody able to work from home? And I had already had my studio set up, so I was, it was just like, yeah, I'm ready today. I can stay home and start working from home today. And so, most of our clients and voiceover talent that I record, they're, getting them set up in their studios at home and being able to record them through the internet now using some software called Source Connect. It's all been pretty seamless. I've been able to save money on, parking in downtown Minneapolis. I've been saving an hour and a half of my day commuting, gas money, traveling, wear and tear. sitting in my car every day. So it's just for me. It's been a blessing. I mean, I really enjoy working in my own home studio. That's like the dream for me. It's actually why I went to Full Sail. One of the reasons is this guy that some friends of mine record a hip hop album in this guy's home studio, and I remember going there thinking, man, this is the dream. I'd love to be able to have my own recording studio at my house. So
It's been a lot blessings in a lot of ways I've noticed for some people.
yeah, I mean, even some of our big clients that work downtown, like Target, a lot of those guys are now going into like a hybrid system where they're going to be working from home as well. So I mean, it's kind of a drag that I won't be in the room with, full of clients and, having lunch and, getting to socialize that way. But there's a lot of benefits for someone like me who's got a pretty busy household with 4 kids, and keeping up with the chores around the house is a little bit, easier to maintain. If I've got an hour between, recordings, I can go up and do the dishes or, rake the leaves and just kind of do stuff like that. So that's also kind of a win-win.
I don't wanna take too much more of your time, but I really appreciate you coming out tonight. Do you have any last words to give the people before I leave you tonight?
Oh man, just, find something you love. If you love it, man, just pursue it every single day. Live the best life you can. Try to work on yourself. Try to work on, um, you know, being a better person. Like your nice guy, nice minds. Yeah, man, just be the best you can be, and try to just keep gaining knowledge and just getting obsessed with something you're really interested in. If it's music, engineering, just surround yourself in it every single day.
Well, dude, I mean, not only thank you for this podcast, but thank you for being such an inspiration and for everything that I've learned from you over the years and just for being a solid dude.
Oh, thanks, Brett. I feel the same way about you, man.
Thank you.
Special for sure.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you. Have a great night.
You too, buddy.